Good Friday morning, a feel-good summer Friday where we've got some football to talk about as the Giants debuted their 2022 version of themselves in a preseason game last night. Didn't see the starters for very long, and some injuries, of course, led to an offense that wasn't the offense we expect to see in the regular season, but they did win the game, which doesn't really mean anything. Basically. You got the Mets and Phillies kicking off a series. We got Scherzer and DeGrom back-to-back, and the Yankees and the Red Sox with their weekend series. And, oh, by the way, with the win that the Astros had last night, they now have the best record in the American League. They overtake the 1 seed in the AL. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Yeah, good morning, G. I'm doing good. And, I don't know. It was kind of weird watching football last night. But, I kind of give the Giants a B. You want to win the game. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care who's playing. I think that getting off to a winning start for the team, for the coach, for the general manager, all the changes around here, it was fine. It was fine. And I thought Daniel Jones looked a little bit nervous, but I expect that.
Yeah.
And he was fine. Saquon was okay. He wasn't great. There was a play late in the first quarter, I believe it was. And it was Saquon's replacement. I forget who it was back there, and he just got steamrolled right into Daniel Jones. And it was a blitz by the Patriots, and it affected Daniel Jones' throw. So some things haven't changed. There was also another kind of a delayed blitz on a play-action pass. He got hit. So some of those things that got to be ironed out and worked out. But all in all, with the exception of a few injuries, it was fine. It was fine. It wasn't exciting, but it was good to see football again. It was good to see the Giants out on the field again, and it was good for them to get a win.
Yeah, and the win doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but for Brian Daboll in its first game coaching, he wanted to win the game. He didn't go for the touchdown at the end of the game. He kicked the field goal so you get the win, so maybe that's a feel-good moment for him. But, we're not really going to judge so much from if this offense is going to be any different in this first preseason game, because as you've told me many times, they're not going to show a lot of cards in preseason either. I mean, it's going to be very, very basic stuff that they're going to be doing in these preseason games, and that's basically what we saw. The first drive was okay, ended up in a field goal, which seems to be the Giants' MO. Drive the ball down the field early in the game, end up kicking a field goal. And then after that, the second drive, not so great. But it really comes down to, are Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley real NFL players that you can count on past this year? And I've been saying no for the last several years. I still believe that. I'm not saying that it's impossible, but I don't think that we're going to be talking about those two guys as long-term Giants after this year. And I know that their schedule is favorable. I understand they've got weapons. They had a great draft this year. We all believe that both the guys they took in the first round are going to be impact players. But Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll, I think, are going to make their name in this Giants organization with a different quarterback and without Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I also believe that, last night, it's kind of keep it stupid simple, or simple stupid, however you want to look at it. Don't do any crazy things. There's not a lot of motion, not a lot of shifting. There's just, let's line up and let's run plays. And let's run plays that we've been running for the last 2 weeks. And let's just try to, get off the ground and start feeling comfortable about what we're seeing, what the pass protections are, what the reads are for the wide receivers and everything else like that. So, for the most part, it happened. Tyrod Taylor was running all over the place. That's what. See, one thing I will say that the Giants do have, they do have a guy that if something does happen to Daniel Jones, he'll come in and he'll make it exciting.
Well, what's interesting to me is not if something happens. Obviously, if there's an injury, sure, but. What if Daniel Jones isn't playing well? What if he is?
They have an alternative.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's going to be the thing that I'm going to be keeping an eye on is what if he's not figuring out the system? What if they lose a couple of games and he's turning the ball over again? Are they going to go to Tyrod Taylor and just basically end the Daniel Jones era early?
I wouldn't think that would be the case. But again, what you saw from Tyrod is what you're going to see. Mm-hmm. You're going to see a couple guys running wide open, and he tries to direct it to them.
Yeah,
they catch the ball, but then they fall down. It's not hitting guys in stride. A couple times he had a guy down the right sideline, and he underthrew him, but he moves around, and he's not going to stand back there and just sit there and get hit. So he will extend a play, and he's been around long enough to know how to be successful in the league, not how to be, a team that's got a guy that's going to lead a team to the Super Bowl, but he will give you a competitive outing if you need to have that. So that's the one thing that I will say that they improved significantly this offseason. I know it's not much, but it is a backup quarterback. It is an alternative if, in fact, that's not the future of the Giants.
No, it's not.
He's here because he's an insurance policy.
Yeah, and I think that a new head coach in Brian Daboll, if things aren't going the way he wants offensively with Daniel Jones, is going to look at Tyrod Taylor as a security blanket, too. Like, all right, this guy knows the offense. He's a veteran. He's going to do the things we need to do. He can extend plays. I just wouldn't be surprised if things weren't going well for Daniel Jones. If he made that switch at some point in the season, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
I mean, to win games, it could happen, yes, especially if they believe that the quarterback is not generating offense, because that is the position where the offense generates from. He's the guy that is going to be either the energy that is driving the whole thing, or he is going to be a flatliner and guys are not responding. And that's the danger of where Daniel Jones is right now. I'd also say, I was watching a little bit of Baltimore and Tennessee last night on the NFL Network here locally.
Malik Willis?
Yeah, so you have Malik Willis, and he's not ready yet either. He's still a young kid trying to figure it out. But, man, he's running all over the place. And it is fun for the fans to watch, and he does make, extra plays. And you can see that he definitely brings an energy to that team that Ryan Tannehill doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, he also had that big completion, too, of 40-plus yards, so he was able to throw the ball as well.
I gotta say, look, it's a little helter-skelter, but I didn't realize he was that good of an athlete. I saw some film of him and everything else, but when you finally see him on a game field last night, like we saw him last night, not going against the number ones for Tennessee, I mean, you can see the kid has got, some giddy up to him. And, that will be a situation that if Ryan Tannehill and that team starts out bad, they're flat, and there's no energy, could I see in week 5 or 6, Mike Vrabel saying, get in there, kid, and go make some plays?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. They dropped in the draft significantly. That was one of the big storylines of why isn't Malik Willis being chosen. Some people thought he might go in the top 10 and ended up falling out of the first round. So I think that's why we kind of forgot about him. And I had forgotten even where he got drafted until last night, and he was running around making all those plays. But, yeah, I mean, head coaches love to have that ace in the hole, someone that they could bring in that provides a different energy for the team. And I do think that Tyrod Taylor can do that for the Giants. Now, Kenny Golladay drops a ball at the 2-yard line. All reports on him this year is that he's had, the quote was, a sluggish camp. He had a miserable first year as a Giant where he didn't really contribute and he got hurt. This is turning into one of those classic guy gets paid, guy doesn't care situations, because there's one thing about, you deal with an injury, you deal with an injury. It's another thing when it doesn't seem like you're caring, and then you have a situation which is a clear drop in a preseason game. He's got to figure it out. I mean, that's a huge part of what this offense can be. And he was a really good player for the Lions. He's come here. He's been a non-factor, and he's getting paid a significant amount of money.
All right, so I appreciate what Carl Banks said last night, because he did get on Kenny Golladay off of this particular play where he drops the ball. Again, these are the nuances of the new offense. You kind of come off the line a little bit lazily because that's what you're told to do, because you got to let the things happen in front of you first. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know if Brian Daboll is telling Daniel Jones on the sideline, hey, man, you got to let the thing develop and not pull the trigger so fast. And if he really lets the thing develop, he's got the guy going to the corner route. He threw it to the wrong guy. Now, I know that he throws it to Kenny Golladay, and Kenny Golladay, I think it got on him so fast. And these are like the little things that happen within a new offense.
Yeah.
So, they had Gabriel Davis. They have Steph Diggs up there in
Sure.
Buffalo.
Yep.
Everybody's growing up with Josh Allen. These guys are learning on the fly for the first time. And this is really, they had the blue and white scrimmage, but now this is the first time that they're out there really with real competition. So what I saw there, Kenny Golladay dropped the ball. But I also could say if Daniel Jones just holds onto the ball a tad second longer, he's going to hit the corner pattern for a touchdown.
What did Carl Banks say? I didn't hear what Carl
He
Banks
actually got on Kenny Golladay, just like you did.
Right.
He didn't say he didn't care. He just said, he's got to come out of that break. He's got to be expecting that ball.
Right.
But I'm watching the play, and I watched it back on replay already last night because I wanted to see exactly what was going on. And if CBS can go back and show that play again, watch the inside receiver. I don't know who it is. Watch the inside receiver go into the corner. And Daniel Jones just holds it just a little bit longer and watch the corner out.
Yeah.
He could throw the corner out. He could throw it out to the side and probably score a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, if Carl Banks is crushing Kenny Golladay,
He's got him open.
Yeah, right, like that, because of a drop, it's because he knows that there's other stuff going on with him.
Yeah, he
because
probably
Carl's
knows
around the team.
Yeah, he knows the internal stuff going on there. But I don't want to make a big deal out of it. It's the first preseason game. And again, they're running an offense and they're being taught things. I think Daniel was a little bit quick. I think that Kenny Golladay wasn't expecting the ball as quickly as it came. But if Daniel holds on it just a tad bit longer and fires it in there to the guy who is running the corner pattern, it's a touchdown. It's an easy touchdown.
Yeah. I mean,
so they're getting used to each other. They're looking at different things each way. So just remember, there's going to be growing pains. And that play is like an indication to me that is growing pains.
Yeah, I mean, when John Mara said that we've done everything to screw this kid up when talking about Daniel Jones, I mean, they've put him in another very difficult situation in changing the coach again and putting another new offense in front of him in a year where he doesn't have a contract next year.
Right.
I mean,
I'll tell you the other thing. If Kadarius Toney is the guy in the middle going to the corner, nobody's staying with that kid.
Yeah, I know.
And that kid's going to be wide open for a touchdown, but he didn't play again last night.
Right. Well, he had the offseason knee surgery. Apparently, he tweaked it in practice a couple days ago. He wasn't with the team last night. I mean, they need him. They need him to be a star. And I mean, Dave Gettleman tried to surround Daniel Jones with weapons last year. I mean, they went and signed Kenny Golladay, and then they drafted, even though it didn't work out the way they wanted it to in the draft, but they drafted Kadarius Toney.
Kind of like what the Jets are doing with Zach Wilson.
Right, but so far these things haven't really worked out. We saw flashes with Kadarius Toney, but Galladay's been a bust to this point. They haven't worked out.
True.
If both those guys end up reaching their potential, and Daniel Jones has got some real, and Saquon Barkley can stay healthy, you got some real weapons there.
Right. There was a play, the second series, where Daniel Jones drops back, and I was praying to God it wasn't Saquon Barkley, and it wasn't. There's a blitz coming, and the running back gets steamrolled right into Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
And the ball goes out of bounds. Now, I have no idea why Carl and Papa don't go back and say, this is not how you block in the backfield.
Sure.
I mean, he just got, steamrolled right back into Daniel Jones. And that's not Daniel Jones' fault. I mean, you'd like to have a clean pocket. You got to step up. You got to deliver the hit. You can't take the hit. And, that's part of a running back's responsibility. When he is back there, he has got to pick up the blitz. And on this particular play, it definitely was a play that you could see that's an issue. That is an issue. It's one play. It's one blocking assignment, and then they just kind of glossed over it. They didn't even discuss it.
Yeah.
All they talked about was the kind of the poor throw that went out of bounds. I'm like, did you see why the ball went out of bounds?
Yeah, sure, right. Because
the running back is sitting right in the lap of Daniel Jones in the backfield.
Yeah. And thank God it wasn't Saquon Barkley. That's been something that we've been talking about
I
with
went
him
back,
since his
I went back and looked and almost as immediately as it was over. I was like, okay, yeah, that was not Saquon.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Right. So those are things that he needs to improve on, obviously. And hopefully they use them more in the passing game, too. And Brian Daboll sort of intimated that. The practices that have been open to the media, they've been saying they've been using them a lot as a receiver. So they have to. I mean,
he's so fast that, I would try to steal a few of the plays that they run with Deebo Samuel.
Yeah.
And how they get Deebo underneath the quarterback. There's that little pitch pass, which counts as a completion. And let Saquon do what he does outside the numbers. Let him use his speed. I know he tried a couple times last night to run up into the line and lower his shoulder, and I was glad to see that because that's part of it. It seems like they're trying to send a message to him. Like, you're going to be the guy, man. Get out there, be this guy. We're not going to baby you, and you have to earn it. And I kind of like that kind of mindset as well. That's what it feels like, and that's what it felt like to me last night watching it.
All right, it is Boomer and Gio just getting started on this feel-good summer Friday. Jerry Recco's going to join us in just a couple of minutes to give us his first update of the day.